Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. I like reading scripture for one of the reasons why I like reading scripture is it kind of puts out, sometimes, depending on the passage, kind of puts out a list of guidelines. You know, I'm in love with my wife. I'm in love with my daughter. And depending on what you want to look at this as, the angle and the meaning of the passage changes every time. I mean, it's just a fantastic compass. Love is patient and kind. So when I am with my wife, these are things that I want my spiritual, emotional, and energetic compass to be focused on, to be patient and kind. Does not envy. In that sense, it could be, I don't envy that she has a computer that I want. I don't envy that that she gets to use, say, equipment that I wish that I had. I gladly spend money on her. Gladly. I do without, so she has. Right? Because I don't envy what she has. I don't boast. So boasting with my wife would be, say, if we're having a trying moment and I'm having trouble holding on to patience and being kind. You might boast at the last time you did something for that person. Or you might boast about, don't you remember that time that I did such and such for you? Etc. That's boasting. Love does not boast. It is not arrogant. Not arrogant in my ways with my wife. Arrogance is the cousin of boasting, because as you're boasting, you're exuding arrogance. Don't you remember the time I did that? Oh, please. You know, you can't touch what I've been doing. I've always been there for you, etc. You're being boastful. You're being arrogant. Right? I try not to do these things. I try to read this and follow it. Love is not rude. It does not insist on its own way. That's huge. It is not irritable or resentful. There is great wisdom in this book. This is 1 Corinthians. 13:4 that I'm reading right now. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. I keep pieces of birch bark as bookmarks in my Bible. I have many of them. To key passages that I like to read, to try to keep my compass focused, keep it in mind, keep myself moving in that direction so I don't stray. Each one of these bookmarks has something profound and deep that I can relate to in my life. They're passages I've chosen to immerse my consciousness in, constantly read them and think about how they pertain to my life. How they pertain to my life based on, like that last passage about love. How does that pertain to my life with my relationship with my wife, or my daughter, or my father, or my sisters, co-workers, constantly. And depending on what I'm basing this off of, it means something different every single time. If I'm thinking about friends, I'll think of a certain friend and read that passage. And every single thing, I can think of something to make sure I'm not doing with that person. Then I'll think of a different person. And I'll think of all new things based on that list to make sure I don't do with that person. It's one of the ways that I personally use Scripture in my life. And this is a perfect time to read it. This is a Bible that's waterproof, all plastic pages. I bring it with me when I travel. It was a gift from a friend of mine, one of my best friends. He's a great man. We've prayed together in the woods. I'm blessed to have him for a friend. And I bring this with me, and I just don't have to worry. It's all plastic pages, and I can reference it whenever I want.